We're live.
Hey yo, what's good, Low Gang? I have to do it. It's a moment. Those are moments I'll never forget from my childhood, right? Moments that have distinct meaning to me.
Stop it. Get some help.
Welcome to Life in Moments, a podcast about the little and big moments that shape who we are. We believe that life is full of amazing experiences that deserve to be shared, whether it's a moment that made you laugh, cry, or see the world in a new way. This is a space where we will celebrate the highs, explore the low, and find meaning in the in-between. Because even when we feel like no one else gets it, there is someone who does. Together, we'll uncover stories that inspire us, connect us, make us laugh, and encourage us to think a little deeper about our own journeys. So let's dive in, one moment at a time.
You know what is important, and I guess that was an example of me diminishing your moment. You know when I
Yeah.
did that? Which brings us to the topic of today. It's going to be a little bit different just because I feel like in previous episodes we touched on like more positive topics and more like uplifting and upbringing topics. But this one we're going to talk about not something that's sadder, but something that I guess many of us have faced in our lives. Okay, let's just pause real quick. This is Nav in edit. I'm rewatching this episode for the sake of editing, and I'm noticing that my voice is really high. I don't know why it sounds like that. That's not my voice. I don't know why. Maybe that is my voice, but like this is how I sound. That's not how I sound. I sound unusually high, but okay, that's all I wanted to say. But it was just bothering me. All right, hold up. I'm editing my edit, and I'm noticing my edit of the video. My voice is higher than it usually is. I just want to clarify. This is what I sound like.
Nav, shut up and play the video.
Hey, my bad, man. I'm sorry. Why you gotta be like that? Okay, all right. Back to the video, I guess. Jeez. And we're gonna dive into the moments that about when someone tries to diminish your achievements, your joy, your pride. Let's say you accomplished something, and someone tries to downplay that success or make a passive aggressive comment. And these moments can be subtle, but they do stick with you. Maybe you nailed a presentation at work or school, and someone shrugs it off or says something that makes you feel like, oh, maybe it wasn't as a big deal as it was. But I feel like it's important to talk about these because your wins, no matter how big or small, deserve to be celebrated. And that's the topic for today. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? Because this is the first time I'm telling this topic to Caleb.
Yeah, this is like I kind of put on the spot here. Just bam, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting situation because I know like there's personal experience that I'm sure we'll talk about, but you hear about it in movies and you see it all the time where
Yeah.
someone has a big a big success or even just like a small success, but something they're proud of,
Right.
and they don't necessarily get the reaction that they wanted,
Yeah.
even if it's just from their immediate family. Like I know sometimes maybe you make a really good meal
Yeah.
and it just seems like no one cares.
Right.
And it's like, oh, we expect this of you. Like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I can make a better meal than you or something like
Right.
that. So it's definitely very applicable. And
Yeah.
those moments can last because those moments, like if you experience a ton of those moments over and over again, that can build up a ton of resentment and like that can impact you way far in the future, even though maybe no one meant anything bad by it
Yeah.
or it was just an accident and talking about it, saying, hey, that moment when you kind of shrugged off my success or you took credit for it yourself or
Yeah.
whatever happened was that was kind of a cheap shot.
Absolutely. And
You know?
I feel like as humans, like I know there's a lot of people who might say like, "Oh, I don't care for the attention of others." But I feel like it's such it's human nature to like want that attention from others and like want to have that experience. So like if I were to accomplish something that I think is a big deal and I were to tell you like if I came up with a new idea and I told you and you I just felt like you weren't properly listening. Like the other day when you texted me about your idea and then I replied, "Wow." And then you
I
were
was like,
like, "Give me
bro,
more
what
than
the
wow."
hell is this, man? Wow, I've been spending literally hours coming up with that idea and developing it and trying to and like feeling like this is finally the thing I'm supposed to do. And the
Right.
first person I tell, who I hope will do it with me, wow. Now, again, of course, I understand that was just you were studying
Yeah,
and
I had a
that
mid.
wasn't
I want to.
personal.
In my defense, I had a midterm like an
Come on,
hour
look at this
later.
guy still in school. Such a studious individual.
Um, but yeah, I'm sure. Like that probably made you feel a type of way when I was like,
For a very brief second, it
yeah,
was. like I'm actually trying to come up with an idea
Right.
that I feel very passionate about.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, everyone, by the way. This idea will, it's coming.
It's gonna knock your socks off.
Yeah. So it's like something that I feel super passionate about that it's the first time really that I'm very clear on what I want to do. Um, and so for a moment, it was like, oh, that kind
Yeah.
of hurts, man. Like,
Right.
but I also understood like you're not the type of person just to be a butt about something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm also
That's,
glad you called me out because immediately after I sent that text, you were like, "Dude, give me more than that." Like I put in time and effort, and then I explained myself. But had you not said that, I would have probably, I'm not gonna lie, I would have probably left it there, and then after I wrote my midterm, I would have come back to it. But then you would have been left in the dark.
I'm
Um,
like, whoa, this guy hates this idea.
right.
I'm just gonna have to do it by
Yeah.
myself,
And then we have
which I
two
would,
separate
by the way.
channels. Yeah.
Leave me, my guy. I'll do it my own.
Um,
Try me.
yeah. But like there's like common examples out there. Like one that I was doing research just for this one was about Ed Sheeran, and how like
Mm.
growing up, like, you know, he was teased for having a stutter, which I think is like ironic in that, like, you know, right now he's like, I swear he's like number one on Spotify, or like I checked like a while ago
He's
he was
one of the most listened to people of all time.
right.
Yes.
And like people were maybe teasing him or putting him down when maybe he was like trying to showcase himself and his talents back in the day. And had he listened to that and had he like bought into what people were saying, then we wouldn't have had some of these like hit singles that are all over my playlist and probably
And
all over millions of others.
it's so interesting because then you can parlay that into the moments that I distinctly remember listening to his Divide album.
Hmm.
That album is one of those any song played from that, I will
Yeah.
know instantly.
Right.
And it takes me back. It like puts me in the moment of being, in grade 10 or whenever that came out, back in high school
Right.
and listening. And I was obsessed. Like that was some of the most listened to music for me. So
Yeah.
if he let those moments where people were kind of diminishing him or bullying him or not giving him the credit
Yeah.
affect him and deter him from going after what he wanted,
Right.
well, then millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people would have missed out on great moments as well at his
Right.
concerts and just listening to the music with themselves or with friends and family. And like there's a couple songs that are like super meaningful that he wrote about his grandma and stuff that like basically make me cry every time I listen to him. That wouldn't, don't make that face.
Yeah.
Wow, talk about diminishing
No, I'm not
people
trying to
while they're.
diminish. I was like, you cried?
Yeah, of course. I'm a sentimental guy.
All right.
But
Yeah.
I I have another historical thing
Please.
if you want to go that way. Katherine Johnson. Do you know who Katherine Johnson
I
is?
don't.
So she was a mathematician who worked for NASA. She's an African American mathematician who worked for NASA, and her work was crucial in the success of the United States space missions during the space race, right? So, like, when the Apollo missions
Yeah, yeah,
trying to
yeah.
get to the moon and all that stuff. So stuff like her trajectory calculations and the Apollo missions and the space shuttle program and beyond, she has affected so much of that stuff because she was a brilliant individual
Mm,
who came up with she was so smart. She was super smart, but she never got the proper recognition because of her race and her gender,
mm.
right? Back in the day, you see an African American woman, like you're not going to get any attention or any um uh like success or anything from other people. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And I can only imagine like, wouldn't you want to quit if you were doing all this work and you weren't getting any type of good job even
Yeah.
out of it?
Yeah. Because
So
that's not like, oh, I completed a task and my higher up. That's like,
no, she was a foundational core piece
right.
in coming up with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it just not getting that recognition, even if it's just hey, you're doing a good job, I feel like would deter so many people from continuing. But the fact that she stayed with it for so long,
Yeah.
but the biggest thing was because of the racial and the gender barriers, right?
Right.
That just in the 1950s and the 1960s, that that prevented so many brilliant people from getting recognition for
Yeah.
anything. So,
Um, Recognition's important. I got a quick question for you. This is like more of like a fun sort of like hypothetical. Would you
mhm.
rather make X amount, but you're praised by your peers and your higher ups for the work you do, or make double that amount, but you never get any sort of recognition? Like, how important is recognition to you?
Okay, so when you say recognition, is this like I create something and then everyone's like, "Ooh, wow, look at this dude."
Yeah, like essentially all the tasks you do and like the work you put in is
Am I doing the same amount of work?
yes. Ah, I guess double is too high. You probably would just okay.
Because I would just take the double.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I was trying to just gauge like how important that
But
is for
th
you.
this is just such an interesting thing because I'm thinking about like what I want to accomplish with this podcast
Right.
and these projects that we've been talking about doing moving forward. And I don't want it to be about us.
Yeah.
I want it to be about a common interest and a common goal,
Right.
right? Which is life in moments, right? I want to build a community that people think and we all have this common agreement that life happens in moments and we want to make those moments matter. We
Yeah.
want to make them mean something more.
Hmm.
So that means that people don't really talk about me or care about me, but this community gets built. And 50 years down the line, I can look back and look at the community. That's worth it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want it to be just predicated on us doing this.
Mm.
Like, I want it to, if we stopped in 10 years from now and people would continue on with that idea, I think that's more important,
Yeah.
right? Not necessarily it's specifically me and you.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense
Yeah.
whatsoever.
No, I get what you're
Um,
saying. We did also establish that early. So, about how like the purpose of this wasn't for like self achievement or self fulfillment or anything like that. It was for like I like maybe a little bit of like we want to fulfill, like we want to like push our comfort level and make these moments
yeah,
not only for ourselves but mainly for other people.
yeah.
But I also because I talk about recognition only because sometimes you get like people notice, but then like I think that's why I wanted this topic because like I have instances in my life where like people, it's not that people haven't noticed, it's that people have noticed and have like tried to put it down or tried to
Mm.
undersell it.
Give me an example.
Like okay, so all throughout my life I was kind of like a skinnier kid, like a skinnier frame, skinny fat if you will, like chubby when I was growing up, but like I
Yeah,
grew and then I became like a little skinnier. And then when I
right
was
there with
putting
you.
yeah, so when I was in like later high school, I was trying to put on more weight. So I was eating a little bit more, just so I was going to the gym a little bit. Maybe
Hmm.
not as much as I should have been compared to how much I was eating, but like I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I was new to the whole like fitness thing.
Yeah.
And then someone in my community had noticed and had kind of like poked my stomach and made a comment that I'll never forget. And then he said, "Looking big, aren't ya?" And then I thought at first I was like, "Oh, I appreciate that." And then he's like, "Oh, not in the good way." And I'm like, "Oh."
God
And
Lord.
I'm in like grade 10, 11, and I remember being like
Bro, that's brutal.
laughing, and I'm laughing that off because it's like in that moment, like I'm not. I feel like if I don't address it, then I won't like actually think it's real. Like I'll be
Mm,
like, nah, like whatever. Like maybe they didn't mean it as how it came off or something like that. And I was trying to just like tell myself things to feel better. But I remember for the longest time I was like afraid to almost have another interaction with this person just because I was
yeah.
like, no, they're gonna judge me for other things rather than like hearing what I have to say.
That is a really interesting point because it's not like you initially thought they were giving you recognition
Right.
for something that you clearly were purposely doing.
Yeah.
Something you had been kind of like self-conscious about a little bit growing up,
Yeah.
and you were trying to actively get bigger.
Right.
And that person just came on and basically crapped all over your party in the worst way possible and didn't even think twice about it. They were probably just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just continuing on with my day
Yeah.
now.
It was tough, man. Like I still can kind of like relive that and like I can sort of like
Isn't
relive
that
the emotions I felt in that.
isn't that so crazy that there's moments that we have? This was back in grade 10 for you, so you're talking about like 5 or 6 years ago or something
Right.
like that, 7 years ago, maybe even more than that, a while
It
ago,
was a while ago
anyways.
for sure.
And you can still close your eyes and go right back to that moment and feel what you felt.
Yeah.
right? Like that's crazy that a moment can stick with you like that. And I think that's like there's a lesson here for people that it kind of matters what you say to others because
Yeah.
you don't know what one comment, what that effect could have in a positive and a negative way,
Right.
right? Like you could just giving someone a compliment could change their entire life.
Right.
Like, that could change their week, their month. So like how they treat their kid that day, how they treat their parent or something
Yeah.
like that. But you also don't know, maybe someone's in a very vulnerable state and you say a comment like that, right? Like
Right.
you poke them and to you it's nothing. It didn't mean anything.
Mm.
But to them it was meant everything. It was
Right.
horrible. It just completely derailed everything.
Yeah. And like I have an older brother who I share pretty much everything with. And like I remember I told him this like years down the line. And I was like, this is what happened to me. This is how I felt in that moment. I remember it sucked.
Yeah.
And it's also like kind of crazy because I feel like this happens often enough, like people trying to diminishing your moments where like it's become common to like the phrase of like, oh, don't think about what others like say, like don't care about what others have to say. Like don't like your goals should be like things that you want to see in yourself, not like you shouldn't be doing things for recognition. But I feel like while I agree with that, it's so strange. But I feel like it's because there's so many people out there who would diminish your big moments because and like Nav, can you stop stuttering? Stop stuttering, bro. It teaches us like, oh, you have to do everything internally. When in reality, if everyone acted as maybe like as nice as you might want them to act, then like we wouldn't really have this mentality, or we wouldn't feel the need to
Hmm.
develop this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's an interesting point. Part of so I also grew up with an older brother,
Yeah,
and we did a lot of stuff together. And he was really the only person that knew how to properly piss me off.
yeah,
Like the comments that he would make or whatever, just typical brother stuff.
right.
And because he knew me better than anyone,
Mm,
he knew how to properly get me going.
mm,
But there's part of that that I'm extremely thankful for because he prepared me for not caring a whole lot about what other people say.
yeah,
Like my family can get me riled up like nobody's business.
mm,
But if you're not in my family and you're just talking trash or you say something like that, I've kind of been prepared to just kind of tune that out,
yeah,
right? And I think it's super important. Like if you find something you really like, don't get so hooked on the praise or the trash. Like don't you if you need to the praise to keep you going, that's not going to be sustainable.
right,
But if you also need to be fueled by the people talking trash, that's not going to be sustainable.
right,
You gotta find like a middle ground where you're just going to do it regardless of what's happening.
right.
So,
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
oh, this guy's finally going through puberty.
Right, 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 right.
Long enough.
Hey,
So, I don't know.
shut up. Yeah, do you have any? Because I know we talked before, and you said you don't have like too many of those stories. But
I
if you
don't
were
have
or have
like
you
I
seen someone
really
else kind of go through something?
like just get bullied or like
Not bullied, but like, I don't know. If you've seen firsthand someone else get put down in any sort of way, I feel like it can translate
but
to.
you're putting me on this
You don't
spot
have to listen. We
so
can edit
hard
all
right
of this.
now.
We can edit all this out.
That is so true. We can't edit this out. And we're back. Why you just look at me like that?
No, you're supposed to say, and you're back, and then you just get into your thing. You don't have to wait.
And we're back. Hey, Nav. So I heard you had a couple personal stories that you wanted to share. Hit me with them, man.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I've experienced like people trying to put me down. Like I remember it was big. Like especially me being like I'm a Muslim, and I've grown up that way. Grown up. Yeah. Obviously, I've grown up that way. I don't know where I was going.
So I'm not laughing. Just the way you phrased it
Yeah. I don't know why it sounded like
was
that.
just
So I am Muslim, and obviously I have always been Muslim. And I remember like for a while that was a big like thing I was afraid to admit, especially in middle school. Now for those people who didn't have middle school, that's grades 6 to 8.
I didn't have middle school.
You didn't have middle school? Yeah. What, you was 1 to 7 and then 8 to 12?
K to 7 and 8 to
K
12.
to
Yeah.
7, 8 to 12. Yeah. So grade 6 to 8, it's called middle school. And then I remember in grade 7, there was these like group of guys who would always like make these like culturally insensitive remarks to me. Um, and I would laugh only because I thought that if I laugh, then it'll be like I'm laughing with them, and I'm not like
Mm.
the end
You're
of
not the
this like
you're not the
like I'm
butt
not
of the
the
joke.
right. I'm not the joke, or I'm not like if I showed them like, hey, this isn't bothering me as much as they think it is, then they're gonna stop and they'll be like, okay, there's no point. Because I feel like most people sort of like put other people down so they can make themselves feel better. But if I don't show them that, hey, I'm being put down, then they won't sort of continue doing that. But it
Yeah.
happened for, I want to say, like a couple months.
Mm.
And it stopped because it sort of fizzled and I didn't really do anything about it. I was kind of just like laughing along, and I was like, because it wouldn't happen like multiple times each day, but it happened like once or twice. um and I remember like I talked to my like other friends, because like I had other friends who were Muslim, and I was like, dude, do you ever have that? And they didn't experience that, especially like in that grade, because it I don't you don't think of like people putting you down and learning these like negative values so young. Like
Yeah.
whenever I think of like bully, I always picture like high school and beyond. Like I don't
Mm.
picture like middle school and elementary school. But
Yeah.
it is the reality that like regardless of how old you are, there's always something, even, and 90% it's not even in your control, that people are going to make fun of just so
Hmm.
that they can get a reaction or they can make themselves feel better. And I don't know.
So, I wonder if those kids who were saying all that stuff knew what they were doing and how it was affecting you.
Right.
Or if they're just because I think this kind of ties back into that other thing you shared.
Yeah.
That guy, he may have not realized how big of an impact that had on you.
Right.
And so I'd wonder if those people, those students, when they were saying all that stuff, if they knew just how bad they were affecting someone else.
Yeah.
Like, if they were on here today and you told them that story,
Right.
would they be like, "Holy shit, I can't believe I did that.
I feel like they
That,
would
that
now.
was horrible." So
um
again, it's like it just ties into the you don't know when you make a comment or a joke that you think is just nothing,
right.
a throwaway, that completely because someone could already be feeling self-conscious about it, or
Yeah.
they may have had 15 experiences beforehand of people making those similar types of jokes.
Yeah.
And so that one's just you never know what's going on behind that. So you gotta be thinking about that when you're
Right.
making these insensitive jokes
Yeah.
or not making them. So that's a I see. There's sometimes I don't always think about that,
Mm.
obviously because I'm a Catholic. So this growing up here, like I've had some people make comments, especially recently after I went to a Catholic high school and elementary school. So obviously you're surrounded by people who are Catholic. Like that's just what was going on there.
Yeah.
But I've in university, you meet a whole bunch of more people. And I think that's one of the beautiful things. It's the first time really, especially in my life, where I met people from every walk of life.
Right.
People from all over the world, Australia, India, everywhere. A bunch of people from Asia, like all over everywhere. And that was really like the first time where, again, they were just some quick jokes about the Catholic faith and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a benefit or not, where I don't distinctly look like I'm someone who could be like I could be, but I'm not like they don't just say, "Oh, you're Catholic," right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I would kind of like you said, like laugh it off or whatever. But I don't know. It's interesting that that is something that people make fun of.
Right.
You know?
um Quick
I would
question.
also like,
Yeah.
sorry, we could cut this out if we do. I'm
Mm.
not comparing being a white Catholic person to be to being Muslim in any regard. I
Right.
understand there's a very big difference, but it's just interesting to draw on like there are similarities that
Right.
people do
Yeah.
experience.
um I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Again, this will put you on the spot, so if you don't want to, we can cut it out, if we want.
Yeah.
How would you respond to that happening to you? Like if someone were to put you down in some sort of way, how would you respond if you would respond? Um,
How are they putting me down?
like, okay, I'll paint a scene for you. You did a
Paint it,
presentation that
baby.
you were very nervous for.
Mm.
Um, you practiced a bunch, rehearsed a bunch. When the
Hmm.
moment finally came, you thought you did well until someone else told you that you didn't do as well as you thought you did.
Hey, man, that's not very kind.
That's how you respond?
Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, who gives a shit?
Right.
Like, if I think my opinion of myself and
Yeah.
how, if I look at myself positively, if I think I did a good job,
Mm.
I do not care
Yeah.
about other people's opinions.
Right.
And I think that is the most valuable lesson because you could get a grade on a test or something like that. And like, oh shit, like I didn't do. But if you busted your ass, like you studied and studied and
Yeah,
studied
there's
and
nothing
studied
more
and
you could
did
have done.
all of that, you couldn't have done anything else. Well, then you couldn't have done anything else. Like that's just how it was.
Yeah.
So I would be the judge, right? Like if someone said, "Oh, that wasn't a very good presentation," and I know I slacked off and
Mm.
I didn't, I'm like, yeah, no, it wasn't. I could have done better. You're right.
Yeah.
But if I busted my ass, it'd be like, okay, cool, thanks for that comment.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't take that to heart.
Right.
I would be able to be like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I already gave the presentation. What am I going to do
Yeah. You can't change the
about
past.
taking this person's comment? Like, there's nothing I can do about it. It's
Right.
done. It's been said.
Yeah. I I wish I had that mentality. I remember growing up, I would internalize a lot of what was said to me and I would buy into it because I'm like, why would
Yeah.
they lie? Like if they're saying it, there's probably some truth to it, even if it's like coming off in a way that I don't like. And I'd always try to like
Hmm.
hear it from a third person, like oh, if I was someone else, like, and I'm hearing someone else say this to me, but I'm not
Hmm.
me for a second, like how would it come off? And I thought that was really dumb of me because I would place that meant like I would be placing a lot of value in some of these
Yes.
people's words, which
You
there
have
shouldn't have
place.
been any.
You should place the value in what you think of yourself.
Right.
Like, that's where it should be. And and sometimes, okay, maybe there's some truth to what someone's saying. So you take the truth, you look at it objectively, and you throw out the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then you move on because maybe there is something you can learn from. I
Yeah.
also think it depends on how they approach you.
Right.
Like if a prof came up to you after and said, "Hey, like I understand you probably worked really hard on that, but I just have a couple pointers that could make your presentation even better in the
Yeah.
future." Okay, of course I'll listen to that.
Right.
Like thank you for giving me some advice. I might not agree with it,
Right.
but you approached it in a good way.
Yeah.
If you're approaching it in like some, "Oh, that sucked. You're so stupid."
Right.
I'm just not going to listen to you. Like I don't care.
And I feel like we will be tested on this in the sense that now we're putting out content that will be
Mhm.
public, and I'm sure you've seen Instagram comments on a lot of posts, and there's a
Yep.
lot of people who
Yo,
are,
these guys suck.
yeah, like very brutally honest, and even if
And
it's like not even bad content, they'll just say something to get that reaction, to get those likes from other people.
and I think that's such a because that has been the biggest I think fear
Mm.
of either failing or of embarrassment or people just being rude online.
Yeah.
But if this impacts even one person, like just someone we know,
Yeah.
and they watch it and like, oh wow, it's nice to think like someone else has had an experience that I've had,
Mm.
or I didn't think about it that way. Then I do not care about the hundreds of people. Not saying there'll be hundreds of people that are leaving negative
The
comments.
tens and elevens of people.
Hey man, we got at least 20 views on our first episode. That's crazy.
I watched it 4 times.
Yo, shut up. Don't tell people that, man. Keep that to yourself.
Um,
He counts for
yeah.
a fifth of the views. I think eventually you will get the recognition. Like if you continue to put in the work, you progressively get better, people are going to maybe diminish you in the moment and whatnot, but eventually there's a really good chance that you will get recognition,
Yeah.
right? I just want to throw back to when we were talking about Katherine Johnson and NASA.
Mm.
So in 2015, she did get awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is one of the highest civilian honors that you can get in the US.
Yeah.
In 2016, I don't know if you saw the film Hidden Figures,
No.
but that it's great. That is a fantastic movie,
Mm.
and that's based on her story. along with a couple other women who were basically like leading the charge at NASA. So it highlighted their story.
Right.
And then in 2019, NASA named its new computational research facility after her.
Oh.
So the recognition did come. It took a really, 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 really long time, unfortunately. And I totally, of course, in the perfect world, it wouldn't take that long.
Yeah.
But some people are just dicks.
Yeah.
And but I think if you continue to work after it, even if in the moment you're not getting that recognition or you're getting put down or
Yeah.
whatever, eventually people are gonna screw other people, man.
Right. Right.
God,
I feel like
think that's just what I'm
tenacity.
trying to say.
Tenacity is huge when you face things like that, and like
Can you
doing
define the word tenacity?
like the ability and the ability to keep going despite facing adversity, and this adversity being
Mm,
someone else trying to put you down, because
hmm
for many it can halt them or stop them in chasing or pursuing whatever that is that they were pursuing. um,
hmm
and it reminds me of a personal example.
This
Grade
guy's full of personal examples.
Yeah. Also grade 11. But this one was to do with public speaking. Now, I
Mm,
by no means am saying I'm a good public speaker. In fact, when I
yeah.
go up to publicly speak anywhere, I shake like there's no tomorrow. And unless
It is true.
shut up.
I've seen it firsthand. Hey,
And
I do
like,
the exact same thing, so it's fine. We're in the same
yeah.
boat.
Um, and like the only way I can stop shaking is if I like tell jokes, which is why in a lot of like presentations I'll try to add jokes just because it calms me down in the moment. But like
Yep.
regardless, jokes aren't always appropriate. Like I was at a MUN conference. You know what MUN is?
Mun?
Yeah,
I
Model
do not.
United Nations Conference.
Damn, this guy was smart.
No, 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 no. Listen.
What
I
happened?
my mom. Shut up. Anyone can go, pretty much. My mom saw my brother do it, and then she was very much
Oh,
like,
it's
"Oh, you
like,
should do it too," even though like I had no interest. But I know she
okay,
was just
okay.
like, she was trying to develop my skills. So like, shout out mom. But regardless, it like you have to publicly speak, and I was in a room. Okay, let me just define what it is. So it's like you're given a country, and then they have
Hmm.
like topics, and you are supposed to like choose a topic and come up with a solution based on like there's a problem that happens based on your country's views.
Yeah.
So like each country is like a delegate, or each person's a delegate from a country, and then you would go up and you would like speak on your country's views or stance on whatever the topic is.
Okay.
Um, and I was in a room full of, I want to say like 300 plus people. Like it was at one of those beginner conferences, so there was a lot of people. Um, and I
Yeah.
went up and I spoke, and it was the first time I spoke, and I thought I did well. And in these conferences, you can pass notes, and you can either label them anonymous or you can label them with your country name, so people kind of know like who sent it. I got an anonymous note shortly after I spoke.
Wait, what country were you?
I was Armenia.
Damn.
Yeah. Um,
Continue.
I got a note that said, "quote You are not that guy." Dog,
Yo,
like what?
what?
I guess okay, that was also like popular around that time, like when people
Yeah.
were saying that. So
You ain't that guy, man.
because because when I went to speak, I also told a joke. It didn't hit, but like I was like very like animated in how I was speaking, because I thought that would help me when I was up there talking. And then I get that note, and I didn't speak for the rest. So it's like a 3-day conference. I didn't speak for the rest of that day. And I thought, and I kind of told myself like, whatever, I'm done. Like I'm not gonna speak again. Like this is like I don't need this. I'm not even confident speaking, and I don't want any more people hating on me, and I didn't want like this hate to spread, and other people were making fun of me as well. So I was kind of like, whatever, it's fine. I don't know who said it, so I'm not gonna think much of it. Um, but I spoke 3 times that conference, and I spoke on the second day. And
Hmm.
like, although maybe what I said wasn't valuable, looking
Hmm.
back, I don't really remember what I said, but I'm sure it wasn't of value. And like, I didn't really accomplish anything. And like, there's awards, and obviously I didn't win an award. But I always pride myself on the ability that I had to speak again. Um,
Mm.
like later I did win awards, but that's like down the line. But
Hell yes.
in this conference, I didn't win anything. Um,
Ooh, there's a lesson here. Because in that moment, when that guy sends you, whoever, I'm presuming that was a male who sent you that note because let's be honest here.
could have been anyone.
It could have been anyone, though. It could have been anyone. So when they send you that note in that moment, you could have been like, okay, never public speaking again, I'm done, and left and be
Right.
done and never talked or try to get up and speak in front of an audience ever again in your entire life.
Yeah.
That moment, you could have decided that.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, I just think this is a stupid note. And even though it still scares you a ton to speak in public to this day, you're still doing it
Very much so.
and you're getting better. There's a lesson here. Like, yeah, people might just talk crap to you and try to diminish what you're doing and say that it's not going to work. And, I've had a couple people question how well this podcast is going to be. Not in a
Yeah.
mean way, but if we just keep going with it,
Right.
like if you stop, then they're right.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like if you stop, then all the people who are hating or all those negative thoughts and whatnot are correct. If you keep going though, then
Then they're wrong.
by definition, they are wrong. Even if that sounds cheesy, it is cheesy only because it is true.
Yeah.
And therefore people say it all the time.
I am that guy.
Hell yes, you are.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for giving me my recognition.
It's true. You need that recognition. That was a big moment. You could have gone either
Oh
way.
shit. Yeah.
Hey,
Sorry, I put my mouse on the screen. A lot of people were hating because I'm not hating, rightfully so, because I
no,
kept
people were
hovering my
hating.
mouse.
Let's be honest.
Um,
People were talking trash. I was talking trash. This
um,
buffoon.
yeah, I'm recording the left side of I'm recording my left monitor, and sometimes my mouse will be there. And apparently in podcast one, which if you haven't seen it, go give it a look.
Go
And
check it out. It's out right
Easter
now.
egg, my mouse is hovering in certain parts of that.
Yeah, so go
Go see
and,
my
and
mouse.
comment, leave what times that you notice that. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
this is such an interesting topic though, because like those are pivotal moments when maybe you wanted to get a little bit more recognition, or you just hoped at least people wouldn't diminish what you did.
Mm.
I think okay, the more I think about this, sports come to mind. So I played basketball, lacrosse, and soccer for my city when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I played a bunch of other stuff, like obviously track and field, cross country,
Right.
volleyball, all that stuff in elementary school. But for the city, I played those three sports primarily. And there'd be games where I thought, oh, I'm playing pretty good.
Yeah.
Like not great, but like okay, I'm solid. Like I'm not making too many mistakes. I'm trying.
Yeah.
And it's not that I got diminished, like, oh, you suck. You didn't play well today. But you don't get that recognition. Like no one says, hey, like I noticed you played well. But then I also had games where people would make that comment or practice. Practices are sometimes even more valuable.
Mm.
When you have a good practice and the coach says, hey, I saw you, like you were really putting in an effort. Like good
Yeah.
job. Because just that moment, it's like, oh, nice. Like so it's sometimes it is nice to get that recognition
Right.
for something that you think you've been doing really good at.
Yeah.
And just to have people not diminish those moments. And again, that was could have been a throwaway comment for the coach.
Mm.
He just like, yeah, good job, and not thought twice about it.
Yeah.
That really, really positively impacted me.
Right.
So
You
words
mentioned
matter, people.
Yeah. You mentioned sports, and I feel like sports is an interesting example because I have a story, but I also have a question I want to ask you.
Hit me.
Can bullying or putting someone down ever be good or viewed as beneficial, in your opinion?
I think your wording is questionable.
Okay, how would you word it? Like, if you do you get what I'm trying to say?
Could bullying ever lead to positive outcomes?
Thank you. That'll be the start of a short. Can you say that one more time?
Could bullying ever be no shit.
It's fine. This
Could
is gonna say
bullying
the long
ever-
podcast, but for shorts, this will be.
Shut up.
All right. All right.
We'll see if this bullying leads to positive outcomes. All right. Could
All right.
bullying ever lead to positive outcomes?
Um.
I can answer this.
Yeah.
You're playing with fire. Because for one person, you could make a comment And that could be like, okay, I'll show you. And it motivates them,
Right.
right? It could absolutely do that. And in that sense, I guess you could say there's a positive outcome. But for that one example, you could find hundreds of examples of people who became depressed
Right.
and didn't have the ability or couldn't, or their situation didn't allow for them to take that in a positive light.
Right.
Sure, you can find a specific example here or there where someone talks trash or says something that's not nice and it motivates someone and, you know, they get going.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be a dick in order to tell someone something like some criticism.
Right.
You can give someone a piece of criticism
Yeah.
or say, hey, that wasn't very good in not a rude way.
Right.
But when I also think of bullying, I think of bullying just like in elementary schools and high schools, kids making fun of the way other kids look and
Mm.
physically abusing them and all that stuff.
Right.
That's not going to have very positive outcomes.
Yeah.
I think the majority of the time that just leads to bad. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It does
Yeah.
not necessarily just stop and get better all of a sudden.
Right.
But it depends on like how you like what is bullying? Because are we just talking about like just one person being mean to someone else? Because if you're just being mean to someone else, sure, that can motivate you. Like if someone craps on your idea,
Right.
they're being rude, they're being mean a little bit. I don't know if is that bullying though? Like I think that's a
I guess.
that's a
That's true. That's
I
fair.
just don't. I think it's like I said, it's like playing with fire. I think the majority of the time it leads to being burned.
Yeah.
It does not lead to good outcomes.
Right. I only bring that up just because there was a time in my life where I played ball hockey.
What?
Very short amount of time I played ball hockey. So I was not by
Sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
I was not by any means coordinated, and I think that could show.
Understatement of the year.
I wasn't coordinated in ball hockey. Okay.
Yeah, I can picture it right now.
Yeah, like picture like Melman, like the giraffe from Madagascar, just like running around with a hockey stick and stuff like that. And a lot of people on my team and off my team were very honest. I'll put it that way about my skills and whatnot. And it was like a recreational league type of thing. So it's like everyone had to play. So it's not like, oh,
They were
Nav,
calling you
like
trash.
put Nav at the end of the bench. He's not gonna get any minutes. Like no, I
Yeah.
had to get minutes. So I was out there doing God knows what, running around with a stick. Absolutely no impact. And it was because of their comments that I sort of like stopped and like I played basketball obviously and volleyball at the time as well. So like I went back to those sports and devoted my time to those sports. But I guess it is also important to realize that like had they not said anything, maybe I would have been a multi-sport athlete and maybe my ball hockey.
But I think that's just where like you can tell someone they're not talented at something without being a dick. I don't know how many times I have to say that word.
They were a dick. But I feel like
Yeah,
because
I
they
feel
were,
like but you can tell someone, you can say, hey, but just like this might not be the sport that you should play. Like, you have talent, but
that's so rough. Yo, this ain't for you, man.
no. But you're saying it in a bad way. You're saying it in a bad way. If you say, hey, I think I think you'd be really good at basketball. Like you're super tall. You seem like you can play that way.
Yeah,
It's a bigger ball.
it would be easier to hit.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like it might not be good to hear at first. But
Right.
That's better than people just be like, hey, look at this giraffe. You know what I mean? Like that's just straight up okay. But this all comes back to, I think, what we were talking about earlier, where if you just don't really care about what randoms are saying to you,
Right.
and if you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, then have fun and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Eventually, because if you kept going, if you kept playing ball hockey, you'd be better at ball hockey now than when you started.
Yeah.
And people probably wouldn't be calling you a giraffe. Maybe people would be saying you're really good now.
Yeah. They would be saying not not maybe, they would be saying I'm really good.
All right. I
Yeah.
have my doubts about that.
All right, sorry.
You know what they call me when I used to play basketball?
What?
Kobe. Nah, that's highly disrespectful.
Wait.
They did not call me Kobe.
Okay.
I was trash, man. You know what number I wore for my last 2 years of basketball?
What?
Guess.
24?
69.
Dog, what?
Dude, we
Why
have
is that
to.
even an option? It's like high school, right?
Yeah.
Why is that an option? Why do they have that
My
number?
mom was one of the coaches, and she was standing there when I picked my number. And I started laughing, and she looked at me. She's like, "What is wrong with you,
Yeah.
man? Why are you picking that?" We're cutting this out. This is not being
No, no, no.
included.
It'll stay.
No.
It'll stay. You'll forget about the whole thing. You'll see it in post, and then when it'll be up there, you'll be like, "What are we? Why do you keep this in?" It'll be in.
This is the most random podcast I think we've done.
This is
I
yeah,
think I think we're like the message has been relatively consistent, but
yeah.
we're all over the
We are all
place.
over the place. That is true. It's just because this new idea, man. I'm just jazzed for it, and I'm lucky like not taking my foot off the pedal on the podcast, but like
Yo, I'm so excited. It's gonna. Oh shit, I'm stuck. What the hell? Unstuck. Ah, there we go.
stuck.
Sorry, I got stuck. That's gonna make for a great clip. I'm so excited. Should we give the people a little taste about what
If
that?
you
No.
want, I don't say too
Okay.
much. Don't
Okay.
don't
I'll
let
just I'll
six
just give
people
I'll
know
just
too
give
much though.
I'll just give.
Whoa, where'd the audio go? Oh, we had to cut it out because Caleb gave too much after saying that he wouldn't reveal too much. He revealed way too much. So yeah, I hope you can read lips because I won't cut the video out. So you are welcome to try and guess what he's saying, but I'm not gonna let you know what he's actually saying. All right, man, that's it, man. I don't want
I
to.
got nothing more to
I
talk
don't want
about.
to. I feel like we're already like a little like going all over the place. We might as well. Might as well.
Okay, the message of this story is that sometimes there will be moments in which people belittle or don't give you the recognition that maybe you deserve or you feel like you need. Don't let that deter you.
Yeah.
If you keep going, if you get better, if you learn from the mistakes, eventually those moments will come.
Well said.
That's Nav. I'm Caleb. Goodbye.